surrender to the process. You have to be able to surrender, which is so difficult for us, especially as moms, to just be like, this is all going to work out, and just really take a step back and breathe.
Hey there, mompreneurs. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Good Enough Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Angela Mashuli, and this week I have the honor of bringing you an interview with Talisa Pina of Socially Easy, who is a mom and a social media marketing guru. And she has such a great story, and it's really funny. She's so good at what she does that I've read how she crafted her Instagram bio, and I immediately knew I needed to connect with her and work with her and interview her. She was great, and I think she has so much great advice. She has great insight, and she is a newer business owner, and she has 2 little ones, a baby under the age of 1 and, a preschooler. So I love talking to moms with children of different ages, and particularly moms with little ones who want to be able to stay home with their children but still earn an income. It can be particularly daunting. You're just already overwhelmed with keeping little humans alive. And she has some great insight and some great tips for moms. And I hope you enjoyed this episode where we talk about comparing your business to a baby. We talk about pina coladas, and we also talk about crime podcasts. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I really love talking to Talisa. Enjoy. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again this week with the Good Enough Mompreneur podcast. And I am so delighted this week to have Talisa Pina with Socially Easy. And I think that you all are going to just really love talking to her. She really has a great story about how she started her own business, and she is the mom of 2 little ones. So welcome, Talisa. Thank you so much for spending time with me out of your busy schedule. Like, you have little ones, you have a business, it's a lot. I know that. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending some time with me to share your story.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited for this.
You're welcome. Yes. I mean, it's why I love having a podcast, is the opportunity to connect with women like you and share your story. I think it's so important, and it creates this community, and it just, one thing leads to the next, and I think it's amazing. So
yeah, absolutely. Yay.
Yeah. So with that, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you and your business? And we met on Instagram. Thanks for following me and reaching out. And I immediately saw your profile. I was like, ooh, I love how she described her business. I think we need to connect. So yeah, why don't you just introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, well, my name is Talisa Pina. I have, you said, I have 2 little ones. I have Enzo and Zoe.
Aww.
Enzo's 4. Zoe is 1, almost 1. So I don't want to say 1 yet, because I'm trying to just milk that little,
right. Yep.
baby stage.
Oh.
And I am a social media marketer, and I own the company Socially Easy. It's the letters E and Z for Enzo and Zoe.
Aw.
That's how I came up with the name. Yep, and just kind of worked out well.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
That's
funny because a lot of
awesome.
people don't know that. So when I explain to
Right.
them why I have the name, they're like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, I love that!" And then it kind of really works in with my ideal clients.
Right.
Their parents, that they have some sort of parent or child centered business,
Right.
and that's who I connect most with. That's who I relate most with,
Right.
being a mom of little ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's who I love to help the most. Or, yeah, I mean, I love to help everybody, but those are the people that I
Yeah.
connect with.
Right. Right. I think that that's so awesome. And then, you perfectly crafting that profile, it just struck with me immediately. And I was like, oh, I need to know her. I need to work with her. So, yeah, I think that's so perfect. And hopefully as this conversation unfolds, you'll have some tips for some moms to kind of be able to, use social media that way for their own social media accounts. Maybe some tips for
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
just said it. I mean, you saw my bio on
Yeah.
Instagram, and that is,
Mhm.
I mean, everybody's first impression of you.
Right.
So you have seconds to make an
Mhm.
impression. So
Yes.
you people don't really use their bio. They don't optimize it as much because they're like, oh,
Mhm.
they'll look at my pictures. But no, people want to see about it. They need to get immediate information, and that's the way to do it. So it worked out. It worked
Right.
out with you. So
Yeah, it
right there,
did. Yeah.
tip
So
number one:
obviously,
optimize your bio.
right. Yeah, you're obviously good at what you do. Yeah. So before we get there, why don't we talk for a minute about how you found yourself as a business owner? What were you doing before? What was your background?
Absolutely. So I am a former English teacher.
Uh-huh.
I taught at an all boys school, which
You
was,
did.
yeah, high
Oh
school,
my
all boys
gosh.
school.
Brave, brave
I,
woman.
it's funny. That was actually my dream school.
Oh.
When I started studying teaching,
Uh-huh.
my brother went to that school, and I just saw the incredible community of that school.
Oh.
And so that's what I was doing. I didn't work there for 10 years, but I was a teacher for
Okay.
10 years, around there, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually left teaching when I gave birth to Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, okay, I want to be able to dedicate the time to her. She's my last one. I'm not having any more. Um, and I don't want to miss any firsts or anything that I missed with my first, even though I did take a year off with him. But, I started missing swim classes. I started missing um, all these different activities that I wanted to be there, but I had to be at work.
Right.
And that's when I decided to leave work and try my hand at starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that easy of a transition.
Sure.
I tried, I tried a crafting business
Mm-hmm.
first.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Cricut. My husband got me a Cricut for Christmas. I'm like, this is
Right. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
think there
make a
was like a
killing.
couple of years where lots of people got crickets for Christmas.
I love it. We
Yeah.
have so many personalized things.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it was, I soon found out that the part of the crafting process that I enjoyed the most was the designing, not so
Mm.
much the cutting and
Oh,
the graphing and all that other stuff.
right.
That to me
Mm-hmm.
was just so tedious.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I still have an Etsy shop that I made 2 sales on today. And
Okay.
I'm just gonna like, not really, because I'm like, oh, now I have to do it.
Right.
Horrible,
I
right?
hear it.
Because yeah, I had a great time designing
Uh-huh.
that cup, but
Right.
now I have to sit there and weed it and all this stuff, and I'm just
And hope to
not
God
looking
it
forward to
doesn't
it.
break on the way.
And ship it out, and I don't
Right.
feel like doing that, which
Right.
I'm very
Yeah.
grateful to the
Yes.
person that
Oh,
bought
of
it,
course.
whatever, all
Yeah.
that fun stuff. But
Yeah,
let's face
sure.
it, I'm not looking forward to it. I don't
Yeah.
know why I still have that Etsy shop. Um, but when I while I was doing that, my dad, actually, that he's still a client of mine,
Uh-huh.
he reached out and he goes, look, he told me, he's like, I love what you're doing on your Instagram on your crafting business. I need Instagram. He's a business owner. He's owned a tile company for 40 years, and they had a non-existent social marketing plan, right? It was just like posting very sporadically, posting just boring pictures. I mean, it was awful. And he's like, I'll pay you to run our social media. I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, I love social media, and I'm running my own on my business, for my crafting business. And that is basically what sparked my interest in it, right? And I mean, it was it was my experiment account. So I started learning through that account that nobody was monitoring other than me, because they didn't know, right? So I was looking at the analytics. I'm like, okay, this is what I need to improve, and I was just learning on the fly with his account. And I absolutely love that with social media, you get to see what's working and what's not.
Yeah,
right?
pretty quickly too, right?
Pretty quickly, yeah. So, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is exactly what I want to do. And then from there, it still didn't occur to me to open up my own business. So then I applied to be a VA, and I told him, like, look, what I really enjoy doing is social media. And there I learned even more. And one day I woke up and I go to my husband. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna start my own company. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, yep, I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna make lots of money.
Like tomorrow is happening.
Tomorrow I'm gonna be making. I mean, we're gonna move and we're gonna buy mansion. No, obviously, and that's where it just kind of started. So I started taking all these courses and learning. As a teacher, I love learning. I started following all these social media marketing influencers, and that's where it just kind of blossomed. I'm like, I can do this. I don't want to go back to work. I have no interest in going back to work. And so that's a very long-winded story.
I mean, I love that, because I think the perception is that people who start a business have it all figured out at the beginning, and they have to have multiple degrees and years of experience and certain certifications. And really, none of that is actually true. It usually just depends on, it's usually a situation where there is a series of trial and error. There is, until you just try different things until you find out what your real passion is, or what just lights you up.
Exactly.
And so that, I think that story is great, and that just, demonstrates that perfectly, because, I can completely relate to that. I took a departure from my own background in legal to do something that I found that was fun, and lit me up the same way.
And it's scary at first, because I mean, I don't know, for us, so like, you need job security, you need to have all these benefits, you need to have all this stuff, which as an entrepreneur and as a freelancer, you don't have any of that. You need to really have it within yourself. You need to have the fire and the passion to put forth the work in order to get it. Because as a teacher, if I didn't want to teach one day, movie day, I'm done. I didn't feel good, movie day, I still get paid.
Worksheets.
Yeah.
Great.
Really quick, I mean, go on Teachers Pay Teachers, print out a lesson, and like, kids figure it out. Not saying that I did that all the time, but let's face it, it's not the same. It's not,
it is not.
And as a business owner, it's your business, it's your baby. So you have to put in the work, and you have to figure it out. But it's also so rewarding, because it is your business, and it is your work that you're seeing, and it's great.
So did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Do you think you kind of always had that entrepreneurial spirit? Did you even realize that you were an entrepreneur? Because I don't think I did. It took a while for me to go, oh, okay, that's what I am.
you know what? I probably always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but never really thought about it because I don't like working for people.
Yeah.
I don't like working for people.
Yeah.
You know, I like to have my own ideas. I like to do my own process, right? And even when I started teaching, I'm like, I want to open up my own school. So I've always had ideas of different businesses that I can do. I never even attempted to open up my own school because, and then I started seeing what it took, and I'm like, there, I don't know if it's worth it.
Right.
That's a lot. But I definitely kind of always had a little bit of that idea. I mean, I even tried my hand at MLMs, you know, just to try to, I mean, we go through it and it works out great for some people. I'm definitely not bashing on anybody. I have plenty of friends that are very successful in MLMs. It's just not for me.
Wasn't for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to work for myself. I always wanted to have my own kind of business. I just did it. It took me some time to realize what it was. Yeah. And it took giving birth. And
that was what I was going to ask, but you know what? I mean, you could have still, despite giving birth, I mean, there are lots of women who do that, but still return to the safety and security of the paycheck and the 9 to 5. What do you think it was that really was the thing to fuel you to start your own business and say, I am doing this?
I was able to see Zoe's first steps. I was here, you know, I was here. I was able to go to my son's Mother's Day breakfast. I did not have to ask for permission to take time off. I did not have to feel guilty about that.
Right.
You know?
Yes. I mean, I remember one time when I was working in corporate, I absolutely hated asking for time off. And I saw a meme once that showed like Darth Vader at like, you know, his control panels, and it was like asking for time off kind of thing, you know, and that's how it felt. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't take any time off ever. If I do, the entire company is going to grind to a halt and like nothing's going to happen. And who... It was horrible. I mean,
who's going to teach these kids? Then it's so much more work to take time off. You have to plan everything. I mean, you know.
So, I mean, with that in mind, one of the limiting beliefs that keeps, I think, a lot of moms from maybe opening their own business is saying, oh, I can't open my own business because I'm going to have to work all the time, 24/7 as a business owner. Is that it doesn't sound like that held you back, but did you have any other limiting beliefs that kind of like were a gremlin in your head when you started working on your own business?
Yeah, the lack of security. I mean, the absolute lack of security. I mean, you know, opening up your own business, I don't get benefits. I don't get insurance. I don't get any of that. I have to figure that out all on my own. Which is very scary. So before I took the time off with Zoe, I was able to save a decent amount. And with that, that's where I did, you know, I was able to pay for all the courses and all that stuff, to be able to really become an expert in my field. Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to start a social media marketing company and being like, oh, I don't know how to make a story highlight, or I don't know how to do graphics properly on Canva, or I don't know, you know, how to read the algorithm. So I took the time and I, you know, the due process and the training necessary in order to do it. I mean, and I mean, I didn't sleep.
I mean, and that's the thing. There are times where you have to make that sacrifice. but at some point it sounds like you did kind of like you took an accounting of what you thought you needed to know, and you kind of put together a strategy based on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it worked. And with that strategy, I didn't sleep, but I was able to be present for the times that I wanted to be present for.
Right.
So I am still breastfeeding, so I'm still able to breastfeed here. I don't have to be pumping. I want to take her for a walk. We go for a walk, can I work? And I'm working from my phone. We're taking a walk. And I'm talking to her, but I'm working from my phone. Right. So it's still like I can literally have my cake and eat it too, which is fantastic. This is something that I would never be able to do at a 9 to 5 or, whatever, 7 to 3 as a teacher.
Right. So, it's kind of like one of the most common limiting beliefs when it comes to starting your own business can actually be one of the biggest rewards. And if that you are purposeful about it and strategize and create your own time and your business the way you want, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. And I think something big that I still fall into this trap is comparing myself to others, right? So and we all do it. On social media.
Social
imagine.
media is like
the
rabbit hole.
Exactly. So I'm seeing all these marketers that they are able to do so much. And I'm like, I'm so behind. But at the same time, they don't have kids, right? They don't have kids. So they or they do have kids, but they're older, so they are able to do so much more. My time is limited to the time that Zoe's napping and before Enzo gets home from school. So and I've still been able to build a business. I've still been able to gain clients and all that stuff because this is something that I want. You can't become an entrepreneur for somebody else. You can't. This is not that some kids say, oh, I went to college because my parents wanted me to. You cannot start a business because somebody else wants you to, because it will not work out. But if you really want this to work out and you manifest it and you think positively, it might take you some time. You're not going to be an overnight success, but it can work out. It'll work out for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that one of the things, so what are the things, an important thing to learn too is that it's not something that just happens. Like, you and I both as business owners know it's something you constantly have to work on to maximize your time and like, what is it that you want to achieve and what is it that's your goal, and just like constantly working to manage your time. What are some of the things that you do to help manifest the things that are happening in your business, or to keep, it can be lonely as an online entrepreneur. It can be, you really have to be there for yourself. What are some of the things that you do to kind of keep you in that right mindset?
At night when I'm super tired and it's 1:00 in the morning and I am creating content for myself because my business is the last one I work on, right? Because I'm working on everybody else. So I have all this, beautifully scheduled out posts for everybody else. But then it's like, I'm like, wait, I don't have anything to post for myself. When I get into bed, I'm like, what was I able to do today that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise? If I was somewhere else. And that really puts things into perspective. And I have a client that she's such a strong person. She's amazing. She was a former teacher and now she does all this other stuff. And she told me this thing that I even made a post about. It's surrender to the process. So what's that mean? That means you have to be able to surrender, which is so difficult for us, especially as moms, to just be like, this is all going to work out, and just really take a step back and breathe. And I think that is huge. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you get overwhelmed and you get frustrated, which let's be real, we all do, no matter
Right.
what, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not gonna help you.
Right.
Being stressed out, because then your brain is in overdrive and you
Mm-hmm.
can't get anything accomplished. Because when I'm losing it at night,
Right.
all I'm doing is wasting time. For that, I go to sleep.
Right. Right.
You
Yep.
know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You're like, tomorrow's a new day. I can do
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Yep. Mm-hmm. Been there
And you
before.
and you have to learn from your mistakes, and that's another
Right.
thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, a failure is an opportunity to learn. That's
Right.
what it is.
Well, they call it failing forward, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to be okay with making mistakes too, taking chances. That's just like, had you not started a crafting business,
Mm-hmm.
it never would have led you to what you're doing now, right?
Right.
Like the courage to do that, just following the breadcrumbs is what I
Mm-hmm.
call it. And that
Yeah.
it just wouldn't. So I think a lot of people think that they have to have it all figured out, that is just the one thing that holds people back. But time after time, every entrepreneur that I interview, myself included, it doesn't work out that way. However you think it's going to work out, but that's the beauty of it as well. It's like this story that unfolds, and all you do is you have to show up every day trying to be your best.
Yeah.
Right?
And reflecting on what you've done, and
Right.
whether it's worked or not,
Right.
learning from it. Okay,
Right.
this, I mean, with my industry, okay, this reel did well,
Right.
right? It,
Right.
it, it did
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do differently with this that I didn't do with the others?
Mm-hmm.
Or this post bombed. I mean, it was horrible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what can I do differently?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Right.
something that where can I learn from this?
Oh yeah.
I heard this awesome story that, it has to do with parenting,
Uh-huh.
that, and I'm not there yet because my son doesn't get grades, but, this kid came home and he had, whatever, 5 grades, right? He
Uh-huh.
had 2 A's, a B, a C, and a D, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
As a parent, what's the first thing you're going to focus on?
Probably the C and the D.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I know my parents would have gone crazy if I would have brought home a C or a D,
Right.
right?
Sure.
But what he said is, instead of focusing on that, what you do is like, okay, come here and let's talk. How
Mm-hmm.
did you get these A's?
Mm-hmm.
What did you do to get these A's?
Mm-hmm.
And that shifts your whole mindset. What effort and what process did you take in
Mm-hmm.
order to achieve and to earn these A's?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we then apply that
Right.
to bring up the C and the D?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
Yeah.
and I thought that was amazing, because that applies obviously to school, that applies to owning a business, that applies to life. Like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
worked out great. How can I
Right.
apply that exact same process to bring myself up from somewhere that I'm not doing as well?
Right. Right. And that's what I love about owning a business too, is that that's like probably not a journey that you would take as often if you were working in corporate or
Mm-hmm.
working in a more comfortable job, I guess you could say, that you just didn't have to constantly worry about, well, if I don't do well, my business is not gonna thrive, and therefore my life is not gonna thrive. So it kind of puts you on this personal development journey, right? If you choose to take it, it really can just be this wonderful other aspect of business that I don't think anybody really thinks about or knows until you start getting into owning a business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think, sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, 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 go ahead.
No, that I think a big limiting factor on a lot of moms,
Mm-hmm.
or entrepreneurs in general,
Mm-hmm.
is, the judgment of others,
Oh gosh.
right?
I mean that's where I got the name for the podcast, because um I think that women consistently, especially on social media, compare themselves with other women, especially, and just think like, I could never do what she does. I never could do
Mm-hmm.
that. I could never juggle that. But honestly, it's just really a mindset shift more than anything,
Hmm.
about what you are capable of doing, right?
Right. Yeah, you have to really you have to believe in yourself, which is so hard. It's so hard because, man, I
Yeah.
believe in anybody else, but
You
to
have
believe
to
in
sell
myself,
yourself first, right? And
yeah.
if you don't, it's so evident. It's,
Hmm.
and I've been there in the beginning. It's like, it's people pick up on it. But once
Yeah.
you're just like, one of the things that I think is really important to learn is it's that can shift from the focus on yourself, and to let me know if you agree, if this is your experience, but just making it about serving others
Hmm.
instead of making it all about, oh, what do I look like in this picture, or whatnot. I could criticize what I do all day, but I see the outcome of my work, and that
Hmm.
quickly helps me shift things away from myself. So how do you do that?
I just really focus on what I've been able to accomplish,
Right.
and
Yeah. Hmm.
and just
Hmm.
basically not. So here's a good thing with my own with my industry. I am also teaching. I'm still teaching,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Because I'm teaching
absolutely.
people how to use social media, whether I am fully running their social media or not.
Right.
I'm teaching them what
Hmm.
they can be accomplishing
Hmm.
with a good amount of work, but still,
Right.
I mean, and then on my own social media platform,
Hmm.
there I'm just giving tips, and I'm teaching, and I'm teaching, and I'm entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's
And
basically
I
what
have
it
to
is to be a
say,
teacher.
looking at your content, I'm envious. I mean, I think it's so adorable. Your reels seem so natural, and like,
they
I
take
look at it and I
they take a
go,
lot.
I could not do that. I would look so stupid. She, you know.
So I definitely used to think the same thing.
Uh-huh.
I when I Before I started doing this, I'm like, I could never just get in front of the camera and talk, or I could
Right.
never just get in front of the camera and like, lip sync to something. And then I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to do what you have to do, and this is part of the the business that I decided to get into.
Right.
So, comes with practice.
It's
and and using
yeah.
my children as a prop really helps.
See, they're cooperative at your age, of your children. Like my daughter is a teenager, and it's, I have a
I
tween.
Yeah,
She's like more
yeah.
conscious now, so
Oh my gosh, I we never got it together. I don't remember why, but I told Enzo, I'm like, we're gonna do a dance now,
oh,
and and he was so into it.
I love that. I love that. And I was going to ask you, what do you think the impact is on your family having started your business? And, the little moments like that just wouldn't be possible, right?
Yeah, I think he thinks that I play on my phone all day. I'm not sure.
Right?
But I just I don't think he sees the difference because I
Hmm.
did, he's still very young.
Yeah. Hmm.
But he was sick all last week, and
Hmm.
I was able to be there for him,
Right.
and so all the rest of my family, I'm sure they're also very happy because they didn't have to
Yeah.
come and babysit a sick
Sure.
kid while I had to go to work,
Right.
or while my
Right.
husband had to go to work, or.
Right.
So I think it's been great. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful
Yeah.
for for my dad for starting this, and then for my
Right.
own brain
Right.
to have been like, hey, this is what we're doing.
Right. And I think like when you're happier as a parent, whether your kids realize it or not, I mean, it it's everything. I mean,
Yeah.
your day goes better, you're there for them, you spend more quality time.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just everything. I mean, I just can't imagine. things another way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a really good time to get into demystifying social media. I know it's so important, and that's another reason why I wanted to talk to you, because obviously you're good at it, and you understand it on a level we wish we would. So, I think that what are some of the top tips or important things about social media that you think especially mompreneurs should know? I mean, it sounds like maybe at least most of your clients are women or moms themselves. Mm-hmm. What are some of the common things, misconceptions, tips?
So for somebody that is not looking to outsource their social media just yet, right? I think the most important thing is showing up. Just show up, and be purposeful, right? So you have to build a relationship on social. You have to be social on social. That's the point of it.
Isn't
right?
that funny how, I remember when I first started my social media accounts for my business, and that concept is kind of foreign. It's funny you have to say it, but you have to keep that in mind. Yep.
I was actually going to make a whole reel on this, so it's kind of funny. You have to be social on social. I mean, that's the point of it. You have to build relationships. So so when you post something, don't just, another thing is don't post and ghost, right? So get on and start interacting with your ideal client, whether that is posting on something of theirs, posting, respond to every comment, because that makes people know, that shows people that you care and that you're present and that you're a human, because they don't know you. I mean, for the most part, social media, it's not necessarily local, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, comment, like, create conversation, get to know your audience, and that way they can get to know you, and they feel a connection with you, and they're more likely to do business with you. And then just about being consistent on your posting. As a millennial, which is the grand majority of Instagram users now, right? When I hear about a business, whether it is a doctor, whether it is somebody in the service industry, if I'm gonna find somebody to do my hair, my nails, whatever the case is, what's the first thing you do? You go look at their Instagram. And if they don't have an Instagram, I'm like, I don't know if I trust them. And this is not now that obviously I run social media. This is always. This has been for a long time. I go on and I'm like, what? Who's this person? I don't know this person.
So that brings up an important question. If somebody has they want to either start with baby steps or they know where they should begin, do you think Instagram is the most important first account to create for your business?
It depends on your audience. It depends on your client. You have to hang out where your clients hang out. So if you are trying to find kind of more professional people, go hang on in LinkedIn. Concentrate on LinkedIn. Optimize your bio. That's a whole other situation. If you're trying to target, I guess, kind of a younger audience, where I'm going with this. Go to TikTok,
Right.
The happy medium, I really do think, is Instagram, but it just very much depends on who your audience is. And then there's also Facebook, but Facebook is a whole other thing. And there you should be optimizing your personal account more so than your business account, because your business account, check this out. It only gets to about 2% of the people that follow.
Right.
So what you should be doing is really making sure that all your followers on your personal Facebook know what you do. Because if they don't know what you do, you're missing out on so many potential clients there or customers.
Right.
So you have to, if you're an entrepreneur.
That's a little tricky because you don't want to be seen, or at least for me, because I don't want to be seen as spammy or hey, we're friends, so you have to use my service? Is there like a way to
Yeah.
approach that?
Your business is your baby.
Yeah.
You nurtured it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
you created it.
Mm-hmm.
You nurtured it.
Mm-hmm.
You're developing it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be spammy about it. Just give information.
Yeah.
Don't be like, hey, use me, use me, use me. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what's going on right now. Get
Mm-hmm.
excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a win that we had.
Mm-hmm.
This is something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And treat it like you would a baby. I would
Right.
not be like cold DMing, be like, hey girl, what's up? I have this business. I would love to work with you. No,
Right.
create a relationship.
Right.
Create a relationship
Mm-hmm.
first,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
get to know people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
you can go ahead and send messages to whoever you want. It doesn't mean that they're going to respond, because they might not be your ideal client. They might not be looking
Right.
for your service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but you have to, every once in a while, let people know,
Sure.
and be
Yeah.
excited about it.
Right.
Because if you're excited, other people are excited.
Right.
A simple thing to do is, if you're using Facebook, for example, is your Facebook cover. Um,
Mm-hmm.
don't change your profile picture, because Facebook, leave it with your kids, leave it with however, but change your profile picture, tell people what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right there. So if they go in and be like, oh man, I didn't know she did that.
Right.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I link my website and my business Instagram with my
Mm-hmm.
personal Facebook account. So let's say I'm somewhere that is related to my travel business, and I'm not going to be spammy, use me, but I could leave important information that could be helpful, and somebody clicks on my profile and they'll see, oh, she's a travel agent, and then reach out to me. I've had that happen before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that that's definitely, people have a lot of like, oh, I don't know how to do that, and oh, so I
Um,
think those are helpful tips. Yeah.
I like, don't overwhelm people.
Right. Right.
I mean, you
Yeah.
could also be spammy with your kids. I mean, if I get to a point, I'm like, wow, this is a lot. Like, I've posted a lot about the kids. Like, I need to calm down. It's the
Right.
same thing,
Right.
like, you don't want to
Uh-huh.
overwhelm people either.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
I think the only people that care that much about your kids are probably you and the grandparents sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. So
Right.
it's kind of the same thing, but you
Yeah.
definitely don't be embarrassed to show off all your babies.
Right. Yeah. That, I think that's a really good point. I think that that's a great takeaway, and that, yeah, to kind of treat your business like a baby, and to be proud of it, and
Mm-hmm.
don't hide from it, and to, yeah, I think that that's a really great perspective.
Yeah.
Um,
Share your
so,
wins. When first day of
right.
school, everybody posts, oh, first day of school picture. You just
Right.
landed a big client. Post it. It's a
Right.
win.
Yep.
It's a big event.
Right. Right. Yep. So, I don't know if there is, moms have limited time. They're like, especially if they're building their business right now, or thinking about it, can be very overwhelming. I don't know if you have any good tips about where you begin in the beginning of starting your business. And I know it, to me, and I think I've heard a lot of other business owners describe it as very just kind of scary, and you don't know how it's going to unfold, and you don't know how it feels to arrive until you arrive. you know
Do you even
it's
know when you arrive?
right, exactly. So I mean, there's so much going on, especially when you're just starting a new business. Do you have some tips on maybe one or two things somebody should start with, or just focus on, so they don't feel like they're drinking from a fire hose?
Grace. Give yourself so much grace.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
I know that's just one tip, but I think that's the biggest one.